Do you want to start painting and drawing? Get a pencil, eraser, choose 1 or 2 colors of watercolors and your sketchbook. I'm gonna teach you simple techniques to relax and enjoy your time making art. Aloha, beautiful hearts, minds, and souls. I am Dani. If you don't know me, I am a Brazilian artist based in the US, making art for the soul. Here, I share some of my art practices with you so you can calm your mind, relax a little, and today we're gonna make a beautiful peacock. And prepare yourself because I'll give you a tour at one of my favorite museums, the National Museum of Asian Art in DC. Oh, I was almost forgetting. Hit the like button and support my work. And let's get to it. I will start sketching the shape of the peacock's body. I will make simple and bright lines with a big graphite pencil. First, his head, peak, neck, and feet. Now I find the shape of his tail feathers, all fanned out, oh so pretty. Again, simple and bright lines. Remember, this is a loose sketch. I draw the bigger eyeline patterns of his feathers on top and the little ones on the bottom. If you want, you can draw the details. Now, let's define the shape of his head with some shadows. If you want to know more about it, go check this video on the card where I explain the concept of light and dark, or chiaroscuro. For his body, I'm just gonna follow the first lines defining the shape and darkening where I see shadows with the same big graphite pencil. As you can see, I got several different images to compose my animal. Try not to copy exactly what you see. For example, here I tried to bend his neck a little bit to the left and show more of his body covered by the tail feathers to play with the shape. Now, I'm drawing his body feathers, super simple, not concerned about precision. Adding the shadows of the bottom part of his tail feathers. And erasing the initial lines I made to mark the tail feathers. Now, the final touch of the sketch. Drawing the upper triangular tail feathers. And erasing pieces of the drawing so that it blends into the background of the paper. I love this museum so much. It's amazing how animals and plants are depicted over and over again in the Eastern culture. The last time I went there, they had an exhibit of sacred Hindu art. There, I learned one of the reasons why cows are sacred animals for Hindus in India. Because in the Hindu tradition, Krishna, the main deity of this religion, was a cowherd who loved cows. In my journey of studying fine arts, I have increasingly directed my practices towards Persian and Indian miniature. I am absolutely obsessed with the mixture of techniques between both styles during the Mughal Empire. In this border, we can see very specific Persian leafy shapes painted in 24-karat gold, composing an Indian miniature, demonstrating the influence of the Persian art in India. For both Indian and Persian culture, the peacock has a lot of spiritual meaning. Especially for the Hindus in India, it symbolizes spiritual awakening and is often seen in works of art like this, side by side with Lord Krishna. In fact, nature is a great teacher. We must revere the animals, appreciate and respect the natural world for its complexity and beauty. This reminds me of how we are taking care of our planet. The peacock, for example, is an Indian native animal. Why do we see it inside zoos around the world? By the way, why do we still have zoos? I'm not going to draw conclusions on this subject here, but it's worth asking. How are we treating our world so that animals can live freely in it without suffering? Well, continuing our tour of the museum, in another wing, there is the Peacock Room. This room was painted in the 19th century by the artist James McNeill Whistler. But the patron and first owner of the room did not like the dark mood and extravagant gold peacocks. Apparently, Whistler painted what he wanted without consulting his patron. In fact, the painter was known to have an eccentric and combative personality. Which artist hasn't? Would it be feasible to say today that this artist could be neurodivergent or sensitive to criticism? Maybe. Look, I don't want to defend bad or evil behavior, but we know that society at that time had no tact whatsoever when trying to understand artists. Take Van Gogh as an example. All I know is that Whistler produced beautiful works of art. He had soul. And an obsession like mine for Eastern art. I think we have to make sure we treat artists, animals, and all the natural world the best we can. Trying to understand the subtleties, emotions, and messages. Let's connect more and judge less. I decided to paint a peacock with watercolor because its feathers are so colorful. I chose Daniel Smith's ultramarine blue, Schminke's Shire blue, cobalt teal blue and indigo, both by Daniel Smith, and Schminke's Shire green. I start by applying water all over the drawing, on the feathers, on the body, this is ultramarine. I apply more pigment where I see the shadows that I marked with the graphite pencil earlier. To preserve the lighter parts, I add more water so that it can push the pigment away. This is how watercolor works. The pigment moves with the flow of water on the paper. Where there is more pigment, it is darker. More water, more white preserved paper, therefore more light. I'm going to play with the Shire blue now, and to make it disperse well, I'm going to apply more water. Notice how the pigment travels over the paper when it encounters water as its vehicle. It's so beautiful to watch. I want to apply the pigments over the feathers in an intuitive way so that it get an abstract result without worrying about shapes because these have already been defined by the pencil drawing. For the body feathers, I use the Shire green. Again, more pigment where I want darks and more water to preserve the light. Random small dots of cobalt teal blue for the eye-shaped parts of the tail feathers. And the same with the indigo. Remember, the paper is still damp, so the colors will spread more and the effect will be blurry. And when the paper dries, it sucks the pigment into its fibers, fixing it there. This is why it is important to buy good quality paper so that it can stay wet for a long time. That way, you have enough time to move the pigment with the water. Like I'm doing here with the Shire green. The papers that stay wet the longest are 100% cotton ones. I hope you enjoyed this practice and museum tour. Stay tuned, subscribe, and share my videos with people you think would be interested in this content. See you on our next sacred practice of art. Allahu Akbar.